Have you ever met someone who lies all the time? We're not talking about white lies, but lies so deep, so well constructed, that they hide deadly secrets behind every word. This is the story of the liar. A story based on frighteningly real events about a man whose ability to manipulate reality created a monster. Literally. Get ready to dive into a psychological horror filled with suspense, macabre entities, and deadly consequences of every false sentence uttered. If you like plots that grip you from start to finish and revelations that leave you breathless, this video is for you. Just be sure that, when it's all over, you'll still be able to tell the truth. It all started in a small town in the interior of Maine. No one knew exactly where Thomas came from. He showed up out of nowhere, rented an old house on the outskirts, and began to frequent the town as if he were part of it. He was friendly, attentive, and always had a good story to tell. He said he had worked in film, that he had fought in the war, that he had met celebrities. Little by little, he gained everyone's trust. But there was something strange. Every time Thomas told a new story, someone from the town would disappear. At first, no one connected the dots. An accident here, an escape there, things that could happen anywhere. But the frequency began to bother him. And most importantly, each disappearance appeared briefly in one of Thomas's stories before disappearing, as if he had created them, or erased them. Things began to go wrong when one of the town's oldest residents, Mrs. Maybell, confronted Thomas in public. She claimed he was lying, that his past didn't exist, that the names he claimed to know had been dead for decades. Thomas, without losing his composure, laughed and said, "Maybell, you're getting old. Maybe you dreamed this." The next day, Maybell disappeared, and her house was completely empty, as if no one had lived there for years. Documents, photos, furniture, everything was gone. The strangest thing, people began to forget who she was. Only a young woman named Ellie seemed to remember, Maybell's granddaughter, and it was she who began to investigate what was happening. It was she who found an old diary hidden in the town church, where a priest described the arrival of a liar more than 40 years ago. A man who, with his speech, distorted reality. Ellie went to Thomas's house. She asked questions. She pretended to believe each answer, but she recorded everything on a hidden recorder. The audio revealed a terrifying revelation. Thomas said that lying was his curse and his weapon. That with each convincing lie, he erased a soul and molded another in his image. And that when someone discovered the truth, they had to be silenced. Ellie fled, but not before confronting him with something that unbalanced him. An old photo where he appeared with other identities. In different cities. In different decades. Always the same. Always smiling. He was more than human. An entity that fed on false narratives to rewrite history in his favor. The city began to change. Houses disappeared. People no longer remembered themselves. And Thomas, now more powerful, walked the streets with a blank look and a constant smile. Ellie tried to alert the authorities, but upon hearing her name, the police officers only asked, "Ellie? Who is Ellie?" She was already being erased. Desperate, she climbed up to the church bell, the highest point in the city, and rang the bells in a last attempt to attract attention. At that very moment, Thomas appeared, smiling. He said that this was his city now, and that the final lie was about to be told. Ellie screamed, but her voice made no sound. He had stolen her voice. And then, in a whisper, he said Ellie never existed. And at that moment, for all intents and purposes, she really did cease to exist. But there was something Thomas didn't tell. Ellie had left one last recorded truth. an audio hidden inside an old mailbox sealed with protective symbols discovered in the priest's diary. And whoever heard that recording would know that not all lies survive the test of time. The box was found by a group of urban explorers years later while filming a documentary about ghost towns. When they listened to the tape, they began to remember names, faces, pieces of stories that were no longer part of reality. And along with that, they aroused the wrath of Thomas, the liar. What happened to this group, no one knows. But the tapes ended up on the internet. And since then, reports have emerged of people who, upon hearing the audio, feel like they are being watched. Some say they see a smiling man on the street, even though they have never seen him before. Others simply disappear. If you have come this far, it may already be too late. But remember, the only way to overcome a lie is to know the truth. And not everyone has the courage to do that. So, do you still remember who you were before hearing this story?